There's been so much excitement these last 2 months that I honestly forgot how bad this team was these past 5 years. It's like we're watching one long episode of Extreme Home Makeover with Matt Rhule as the host, and after he tore up the carpet on the stairs and laid down the wood flooring, he went over the top and built out a completely separate garage for the golf cart. I can't say I blame him though, because in year one he'll face some of the toughest coaches in the country, and the depth in the Big Ten's as good as it's ever been. I love the fact that he added over 30 new players to the roster, but the question is, will that be enough? I know we're still 200 something days away from game one, but I heard time flies when you're having fun. So today I'm running through the entire 2023 schedule to give you my early prediction for how things might go in Rhule's first year, and I'll give you my thoughts on the new alternate jersey that got leaked on Twitter. But what's up, guys? I'm Connor Hayden, and this is Corn Crazed. If you're a fan of Nebraska or the Big Ten, make sure you hit the subscribe button below because we're less than 75 away from 17,000. And if you think a bowl game's on the table next season, hit the like button now to help us get to 1,000. But now, let's get into it.
Yet across midfield. Touchdown, Nebraska! Omar Manning!
I'm sure you've heard that this year Memorial Stadium will celebrate its 100th anniversary, and that of course means a special jersey for one of the home games. Usually we don't get to see any alternate uniforms until sometime in August, but yesterday on Twitter, this guy Andrew posted a picture that shows a classic Nebraska jersey with a Memorial Stadium patch, some text on the sleeve stripes, and a blue outline around the numbers. The words on the stripes are a cool touch since they were taken from the original four towers of the stadium, but the blue outline was a little confusing. Apparently the first game played in Memorial Stadium all the way back in 1923 was against Oklahoma, who also wears a red jersey. And since white ones weren't a thing back then, Nebraska had the blue ones they wore instead, and that team ended up beating OU 24-0. As weird as the blue outline looks on the red, I love what it represents, and I think incorporating blue was a really good idea. But if I'm being completely honest, I think Adidas should have just made an all-blue jersey for the game, kind of like the Lakers have for their throwback uniform. But unfortunately, my opinion doesn't matter, so because they already made these, there's no going back. And I'm sure once we see it on with the helmet and the pants, they'll look fine, and hopefully the 2023 team can honor the guys who wore blue and get a win when they rock these new alternates. The other night on the live stream, some of you asked for a way too early record prediction, but I hadn't given it too much thought at that point, and if I'm going to give you any sort of prediction, I got to do my research, so today I did. And I'll do another one of these in July once we have an idea of who's starting and what these other teams are going to look like, since there are still a lot of unknowns. But as of today, we have a decent idea of what all these coaches are working with. Only one of the schools Matt Rhule faces in year one finished in the top 25 this year, but outside of Illinois and maybe Purdue, I expect everybody on this schedule to be better in 2023. Now let's kick this thing off with game one, and that's a Thursday night in August at Minnesota. PJ Fleck won 9 or more games 3 out of the last 4 years, so it's safe to say he found a winning formula. They're going to be better off at QB now that Tanner Morgan's gone and Kaliak Manis has full control. The running back room loses Ibrahim, but they gain the number 7 back from the portal in Sean Tyler. 3 out of the top 4 receivers return, and they brought in 2 group of 5 starters from the portal, so that room will take a huge step forward. And the line loses 3 out of 5 starters, but they return both tight ends who prove to be decent blockers. This offense could be as good as it was back in 2018 just based off of talent if the new coordinators can get it figured out quick, but the D only returns 6 starters, and that's where the weakness lies. This one will be a dogfight, but with so many returners on a team that's geared up to win 9 games for the 3rd year in a row, I gotta guess Minnesota comes out ready in their home opener and pulls off the win. In week 2, Nebraska travels to Boulder to play Colorado, who will likely be coming off a loss at TCU. But either way, the fans are going to be hyped up for Deion's first home game and a chance to beat Nebraska for the 3rd time in a row. The problem is the new staff's building their roster from scratch, and although they've got some great DBs, a really good quarterback, and coaches who've had success in the past, beating a Matt Rhule-led team that returns multiple starters on defense and what I'd expect to be a pretty strong run game sounds like a monumental task with what I think will be limited depth on both sides of the line. Dion has potential to make a bowl game in year one, but he has to win this game specifically if he wants a chance, since the Pac 12 schedule is pretty damn hard. But in reality, it won't be easy for him, and I think Nebraska wears him down at the end and wins by more than a touchdown. Northern Illinois is a great warm up game for anybody in the Big Ten. They take transfers who played backup roles at schools like Kansas, Michigan State, and Iowa, but get to start right away in the MAC. And their offense runs the ball as much as Wisconsin or Minnesota, so the risk of getting upset at home is relatively low since they're not built to play from behind. Nothing's free, but if this staff's halfway competent, it's going to be over before the fourth quarter starts. Louisiana Tech comes to Lincoln for the first time since 2006, and they're bringing the coldest Crawford with them. Sonny Cumbie landed Hank Bachmeier from the portal after he threw for over 6,000 yards at Boise State, and they returned two of the top four receivers from last year's team. Their running back hit almost 1,000 yards as a redshirt freshman last year, so the offense has potential to put points up. I just can't imagine another Georgia Southern situation now that the defense will be so much better prepared to defend a strong passing game. And the roster's fast and Cumbie's an innovative mind, but they won't be able to stop Anthony Grant or A.J. Allen, and Nebraska will pick up their second Group of Five win to build their confidence before a real battle. Imagine Nebraska sitting at 3-1, coming off a 2 or 3 game win streak. Michigan's a top 3 team nationally and has to go back to Memorial Stadium for another game under the lights. Do you have hope, or is Harbaugh too beastly after back-to-back Big Ten championships? Without seeing what a 3-1 Nebraska team looks like, I'm just going to assume we're still talking about a 6-win team and say Michigan's a little too much to handle. Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards are both back. J.J. McCarthy returns 2 of his top 3 receivers. The offense pulled 2 starters from Arizona State and Stanford to fill in on the line, and the already good defense got deeper with Ernest Hausman at linebacker and a defensive end from Coastal Carolina. There's no doubt Matt Rhule will have his team prepared and can make this one competitive, but Harbaugh's no stranger to big-time road games, and a top 5 upset's still just a fantasy at this point. Brett Bielema had the best season he could ask for in only his second year at Illinois, and getting Nebraska at home is going to be another huge blessing. Chase Brown and his brother both left for the NFL, and DC Ryan Walters moved on to Purdue, but there's going to be plenty left over to make for another run at 7 or 8 wins. At this point, Illinois will have already played Kansas, Penn State, and Purdue, so Ole Miss transfer QB Luke Altmaier is going to be in sync with his receivers and ready to score in a shootout if he has to. But if you watched Illinois play in their bowl game, you saw how much worse that offense was without Brown at running back, and the defense took a huge step back without their star DC calling the plays. I'm sure they'll get to 6 wins again, and I think Bielema's building something special, but Nebraska's not losing to this team 3 years in a row, and the offense will have the depth at QB that they lacked in the last one to pull this one out on the road. Northwestern's such a tricky team to predict. They're good when you expect them to be bad, and they're bad when you expect them to be good, or at least that's how it's worked in the past. Fitz is one of the most consistent coaches in the Big Ten, but his assistants haven't done enough to get his team back into the winning conversation. They hired the former North Dakota State defensive coordinator, who was named the FCS Coordinator of the Year in 2021, but he's inheriting scraps after the best guys on D either graduated or left for the draft. And the biggest weapons on offense either went pro or transferred out, and they've only added 1 guy from the portal so far, which has to be the fewest for anybody in the entire conference. It took really bad coaching to lose to a Northwestern team last season who only won 1 game all year, and I'm going to guess that trend continues. They don't have the talent to compete against these upgraded Big Ten West coaches, and Nebraska's speed should cause some serious problems. It won't be hard to get most of the team motivated for this since it was so painful to lose in Ireland last year, so I'm expecting a statement win at home just like we saw back in 2021. Purdue flips from a high-octane offense to a lockdown defensive-focused team with Ryan Walters. We got to watch Trey Palmer go for almost 300 yards by himself in West Lafayette last year, but that new staff won't tolerate performances like that going forward. I can already see this one playing out with a slow downhill run game from both sides and big plays from the defense, helping the offense get good field position. But in reality, it's all going to come down to who has the better quarterback that won't make the crucial mistake. Hudson Card beat out and then backed up Casey Thompson at Texas, and now we might have the chance to watch those two go head to head against each other in what'll be one of the most important games of the season for both of these teams in pursuit of a bowl game for their first year head coach. Nebraska was awful last year and still almost won this one on the road, so getting Purdue at home with completely new staffs on both sides makes me want to put my money on the coach with more experience. Matt Rhule's been here before, and when it comes to winning a one-score game, I gotta fade the guy who's younger and has less experience, so I'm gonna go with Nebraska again. It's not fair, but Nebraska's got to go to East Lansing for the second time in a row. And Michigan State totally crumbled after Mel Tucker's 11-win transfer portal year, but he hit it hard again, and that team's bound to take a step forward. It's really hard to predict what that depth chart will look like because they've got 15 guys coming in from the portal and they've got 9 four-star incoming freshmen, so I'm not going to waste my time speculating. Michigan State's probably an 8 or 9 win team in 2023, and playing them on the road's always been tough for any Nebraska coach. I don't think it's going to be ugly, but in a way too early prediction, I'm calling this one a loss. Maryland's another tough team to predict because of how many weapons they lose to the draft and not knowing which of the transfer portal guys can make an immediate impact. They landed transfers from Tennessee, West Virginia, Miami, and LSU who could all start immediately, and I don't think Talia is coming back to win less than 8 games. They lost their OC at Arkansas, but they still want to throw the ball, so my guess is they find a guy with a strong passing attack from a smaller school. But either way, the 3-3-5 is perfect for games against schools like Maryland, and they won't have the defense to shut down Nebraska's run or the pass. So I'd like to very confidently pencil in a win here. The fact is, Luke Fickell's an amazing coach, and if Nebraska didn't get Matt Rhule, I hope they would have gone after him. Now, I still prefer Rhule, but that guy's got a serious resume, and Wisconsin does too. They returned just enough on both sides of the ball to make them the favorite in the West next year, and they got plenty of portal pickups that were pretty special too. They're building the offense to look more like Ohio State's, and they've got the offensive line to pull it off if the OC can keep attracting QBs like Tanner Mordecai, who threw for over 3,500 yards in each of the last 2 years at SMU. Wisconsin's not a rebuild, it's a remodel, so as much as I'd love to see Rhule beat Fickell in year 1, I think a road match will prove to be too tough, and we'll have to wait till 2024 to see that happen. The grand finale takes place in Lincoln this time, and Iowa, led by Cade McNamara and I don't really know who else, comes to Lincoln to try and take back the Heroes Trophy. But at this point, the team's been battle-tested. They've already seen the high-powered passing offenses, and they've gone against lockdown defenses 4 or 5 times this year alone. The worst Nebraska team in over 60 years took Iowa down on the road 2 months ago to break whatever curse was put on them when Mike Riley got hired. And now that all's right in the world, this is just another game against another average Big Ten West opponent. Nebraska caps off the year with another win on Senior Day, and Anthony Grant runs for 350 yards or something like that to make sure Iowa realizes their reign of terror has officially come to an end. That puts Nebraska at 8-4, which I know sounds freaking ridiculous at this point, but the schedule's pretty damn weak again, and even with all the drama from last season, the team was literally only 2 plays away from winning 6 and making a bowl game. The staff doesn't have to be perfect, they just gotta have the team well prepared and well conditioned, and then make sure they call the right plays and they'll overachieve in their first year in Lincoln. But I want to know what you think, so let me know in the comments below. Do you see 8 wins on this schedule, or is Nebraska still just a 4-win team until proven otherwise? Can Matt Rhule upset a top 25 team in year 1, or is his drought going to continue? And how do you feel about the new alternates? Because I know the blue's a little crazy, but I think it might look better when we see the whole uniform put together. Now, I got to go pack for my flight in the morning, so thank you for being here, and I'll see you in the next one. Go Big Red.